Hey there, and welcome to Brave Conversations, a short podcast from Brave Education to help you raise socially and emotionally intelligent kids one real-life moment at a time. I'm Kevin, CEO of Brave Education.
And I'm Gemma. As a classroom teacher of 17 years, a former elementary school principal, and mom to two teen boys, social and emotional well-being is and has always been a priority of mine. Today, we're discussing those days when you pick up your kid after school and they've had a problem with a classmate. So Kevin, how do parents and caregivers know if a child is experiencing conflict or bullying?
It's a great question, Gemma. If we want our children to identify bullying, they first need to be able to identify conflict. The difference between an uncomfortable situation and an unhealthy relationship. Conflict's a disagreement, a problem, an argument, and it typically brings up feelings of frustration, hurt, or even embarrassment. I want you to reflect on your day-to-day life, from waking up in the morning to running errands or going to work, to interacting with family and colleagues, or even commuting. Think about how often unexpected problems occur. Life is filled with conflict, and why is that, Gemma?
Well, Kevin, conflict happens in the healthiest of relationships. The beauty of humans is that we're all different. Imagine how boring life would be if we all had the same ideas, style, opinions, beliefs. Unfortunately, the differences we bring to our daily lives can conflict with the ideas or opinions of others, setting us up for conflict. Imagine that you and I are best friends, and we always play together at recess. But today, you want to play soccer, and I want to play on the climber. Our difference of opinion on how to spend our time can definitely become a thing.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Gemma, because soccer is way better than the climber.
Well, Kevin, it seems like we have a difference in opinion.
And opinions aren't the only differences that we have. We all have different personalities. How we talk, how we listen can also create conflict. A talkative person can sometimes dominate a conversation because, well, they're excited to contribute, leaving a non-talkative person feeling silenced or unheard. This can happen with someone you've just met or someone you've known forever.
And Kevin, have you ever had to work with someone who was really good at something while you were still learning it? Kids experience this all the time at school, being paired up with a child who has a full grasp of a subject and wants to power through the work, while they want to take their time to process and check over their answers. That can start to feel very uncomfortable for everyone, very quickly.
Differences like our opinions, personality, and skill levels can and will create conflict, but sometimes these differences are more profound, like our values. And boy, do I have a good story for this one. Gemma, I need you to tell me if you think I'm a terrible husband or not, okay?
That's a lot of pressure, Kevin.
So here's the situation. My best friend was planning on proposing. He told our immediate friend group, these are people I've grown up with, and asked us to keep it a secret. So guess what? I kept it a secret and I did not tell my partner. So when he got down on one knee to propose, she was shocked. Now, that's not the problem. The problem was when I realized that all my friends had told their partners about it, and my wife was the only one that did not know. And let me tell you, that car ride home was awkward. My wife did not like that she was the only one that did not know. And while I explained that my friend had asked me not to tell anyone, so I didn't tell anyone, and she asked me a great question. Then why did everyone else tell their partners? See, I was raised with an emphasis on the power of your word. It was a strong value in our household of following through on things, of doing what you said you were going to do. This was something my dad specifically made a point of teaching us. And, well, my friend had asked me not to tell anyone, so, well, I didn't tell anyone and I kept my word. So Gemma, am I a terrible husband?
Of course not, Kevin. You just have different values. Differences are definitely tricky to navigate. When you notice how many differences there are between humans, you can appreciate how conflict is a natural outcome of socializing. And those differences can bring out something else in us. Emotions.
Eek.
Emotions are the second reason conflict happens. Emotions allow us to experience the world in amazing ways, but when emotions get too strong, they can cloud our judgment and make it difficult to do the right thing, even when we know it's the right thing. In elementary school, my best friend got her ears pierced before me. When she showed me her new earrings, instead of celebrating with her, I launched into a rather dramatic explanation of how her ears were going to get terribly infected and might even fall off her head. Did I cross an uncrossable line, Kevin?
Gemma, I love that story because jealousy happens. I've heard adults make comments just like that. Now, as we get older, I like to think we get better at not blurting out the first thing our emotions tell us to say, but it still happens. Emotions like anger, jealousy, or sadness can prompt us to say or do things that we might regret with a clear head. And this is natural. Even me, someone who teaches social and emotional skills, I act out of emotions at times. It's not about never making a mistake like that. It's all about how we manage it afterwards.
You're right, Kevin, and strong emotions have a tendency to catch us unexpectedly. They can lead us to say unkind things or act out of character because we aren't thinking. We're busy trying to process that strong emotion. It's not ideal, but it does happen to all of us.
Now, Gemma, I want to talk about our third and final reason conflict occurs, and it's misunderstandings. See, I was raised in a sarcastic household. Humor was often used to break tension and deepen relationships. So as an adult and in my friend group and professionally, I use humor a lot in my communication. And most of the time, it's a playful energy that brings light and fun to my interactions. However, I had to learn some hard lessons in my youth that even though the intention behind a joke and the comment might be pure, how it lands on someone is a very different story. This is a fundamental concept to better understand human interaction. The intention behind your behavior can be different than the impact it has on someone.
That's a huge but very important lesson to learn, Kevin. You know, more often than not, the kids that found themselves in my office when I was a principal were there because of a conflict that arose due to a lack of communication between friends. I didn't know he didn't like that, but she was laughing were statements that came up frequently. We worked through the idea that even if we didn't mean to hurt someone, it still hurts them. So we need to remember that conflict doesn't mean there isn't harm. It doesn't mean we wash our hands of a situation and say, my intention wasn't to hurt you, so you should get over it and we can move on. Conflict still requires validation, resolution, and most importantly, progress or some kind of change to renew the relationship. Sometimes that looks like a genuine apology and a heart-to-heart conversation. But more often than not, it's more like a reach out, an invitation to play or do something together again, or a demonstration of understanding of the other person's boundaries, like never calling them that name they didn't like, or working to give someone else time to share ideas, even better communication so you are both on the same page.
Now, Gemma, if we've had a problem with someone, how fast can we expect these changes to be made?
Wow, Kev, we cannot expect immediate perfection. When someone has asked for change from you, are you able to change immediately and permanently?
I'm not.
I'm always reminding my kids to put away their clean laundry. It happens every week, and yet every week I find myself reminding them again. They aren't purposefully disobeying me, and they aren't purposefully picking a fight with me. It's not uncommon that we require time and maybe several reminders or support to change a behavior. And kids in conflict with friends are the same way. They often need support, reminders of expectations, and in-the-moment interventions to help them make better choices. And when that happens, hear me out, good things can come from a conflict. I might even go so far as to say that conflict in friendship has a positive side. Do you agree with me, Kevin?
That's a little bit controversial, Gemma, but honestly, in my opinion, I think conflict is completely necessary to friendship. It's our ultimate teacher. There's skills to be built, and with each experience of conflict, we learn to trust our friends. We learn who truly has our back and our respect, and we can ultimately become closer and have a deeper friendship. And that's what makes school such an important place for kids to have these experiences. They will not magically have these skills when they turn 18. We learn through trial and error, making mistakes, and having to apologize.
And Kevin, we really do need to acknowledge for folks out there that there is a big difference in how conflict makes us feel and how bullying impacts us. In most conflicts, both parties feel badly about the situation. No one ever wants to take the blame, but people leave the situation feeling hurt or feeling defensive or upset that they unintentionally hurt someone. Bullying is different. Can you tell us more about that, Kev?
Of course, Gemma. And a reminder that all this chat we've had about conflict is actually essential to understanding bullying. When we have a clear grasp of conflict, we can more easily identify it. But unresolved conflict can lead to unhealthy relationship dynamics, which can include bullying. Now, bullying at its core is a shift of power from one person to another. It's repeated actions happening in person or online that wears down the target's sense of self-worth or emotional comfort, making it difficult to be themselves, specifically around that person. Bullying is repeated, it's on purpose, and there's that shift of power. Those are the three characteristics. It's repeated, it's on purpose, and there's a shift or an imbalance of power that occurs. Now, this behavior can look different. So, Gemma, what does bullying look like?
Well, Kevin, there are actually 4 types of bullying. Verbal bullying is someone saying something hurtful, using bad words directly to you. This is the testing ground and one of the most common types of bullying.
The second type of bullying is that physical piece. It involves hitting or hurting you physically or stealing and breaking your personal property, a backpack, a desk, your phone, and so on.
And of course, cyberbullying involves messages or images sent directly to you on social media platforms or even during online gaming sessions. Cyberbullying can be an indirect form of bullying where messages or posts are made for others about you or to exclude you.
Now, our final type of bullying is social bullying, and that's another form of indirect bullying where someone says hurtful things about you behind your back to purposefully exclude you from events, activities, or even conversations.
Well, this is a lot of information, Kevin. Today, we've dug into the major differences between conflict and bullying. Understanding human interaction is a life journey. So, the next time your kid comes home with a story, ask yourself, how often does my child get into conflict with this person? Are there reasonable reasons as to why this conflict is happening? Is this an experience that they can learn from, or do you think the other child has harm as their goal?
If you have questions you would like answered in our next series, please write to us at info@braveeducation.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of Brave Conversations, where we hope to help you raise socially and emotionally intelligent children. And just by being here, listening, and reflecting, you are brave.